And before we introduce you to our next diamond sponsor, just want to give you a little bit of a heads up. Running directly off this theme of customer innovation and creativity and ensuring that the customer remains top of mind, our next panel is going to focus on agility in the banking industry. And so we're going to speak with some of our very own industry leaders, members of CAB, who are truly making a unique impact on the landscape, on the financial services landscape. But before we do that, please help me welcome Blair Buchanan, our very own, representing Howden. And Blair is going to speak with us a little bit this morning about disaster relief, something that I think certainly would be top of mind for all of us within the Caribbean and beyond, and unlocking private capital for the social good. Blair, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Wendy. Thank you. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who don't know me, my name
is Blair. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm getting some feedback, so I'm not sure what's happening on your end.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, perhaps you have the platform open, so it sounds like we are. Let's try that again. What's happening on your end? Okay, so I think the platform is open on your end. Okay, perhaps you have the platform open, so it sounds like we are.
Can you hear me?
Let's see, if you take yourself off mute, let's see. Okay, so I think the platform is open on your end. Okay.
Sounds like you can hear me okay now, Wendy?
There is a bit of feedback. So what we would need you to do is close the platform. If you take yourself off mute, let's see.
Yeah,
okay, so I think the platform is open on your end. Okay. So what we would need. All right, folks. So Blair is going to work through that. I think he is on the front end as well as the back end. We're going to bring him into the back end with us, and he will rejoin us very shortly. So bear with us for just 1 minute as we transition him to back end with me. Okay, so far this morning, again, special thanks, of course, to our sponsors. So far, we've heard from Raymond James, and we've had a presentation for you this morning by Temenos. And as we go through the rest of the day today, we are going to see presentations by other partner sponsors who have joined with us. We are definitely going to hear from Hitachi a little later today. And, perhaps what we can do as well is talk a little bit through today's agenda and how everything rolls into a natural flow of a story. We started this morning speaking about customer engagement interaction, noting that our very existence is really to serve the customer. And then, like we said, we will speak a little bit to what are we doing from a banking perspective to ensure that not only are we nurturing the customer's expectations, but that we are also surpassing the expectations of the sector. A little later on then, we will also speak to our regulators to see whether or not we are being regulated in a manner that allows us to transform the industry the way that we are being called out to do. For example, yesterday evening, for those who joined us, we would have heard Didicus Jules saying, which one of us is ready to fan the flame, the spark, into a flame? And sometimes there are obstacles in our path, and hopefully today you will have an opportunity to raise questions with our regulators and get some sort of satisfaction that we are all indeed working off the same hymn sheet. And in an effort for us to ensure that our customers remain loyal to us, we have to ensure that they feel secure and confident that the services that we are providing from an AI perspective are also going to provide a level of security to them and that their information is safe. And so we will end our day today with a discussion on cybersecurity. I'm getting the thumbs up all over the place that Blair is ready to join me again. So Blair, welcome.
Thank you, Wendy. And can you hear me okay
Perfect.
now?
Perfect. There you
right.
go. Excellent.
It's funny, we spent the best part of 2 years at home, and as soon as you come back to the office, IT meltdown. But there we go. Thank you, Wendy, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Blair Buchanan. I'm a director of Howden Group. We are a specialist insurance intermediary. We're now the largest broker in the UK, largest employee insurance intermediary worldwide. With 10,000 staff across 40 countries, producing over $10 billion of premium globally. Our core part of our group, as a lot of you know, is our financial institutions practice, primarily crime, liability for directors, cybercrime for banks and the financial sector. But today I'm coming to you with a very different angle. And Wendy mentioned a little bit about disaster relief. And before anyone gets too excited, I don't have a solution for the next pandemic quite yet. But what we're doing here, specifically for financial institutions, is quite unique and quite groundbreaking, and twofold. The first part of this, I'm going to tell you a little bit how we're unlocking capital in the private sector for the social good. Now, some of you may have heard of what we've done recently with the Danish Red Cross, which is putting in place a parametric solution off the back of volcanic eruptions worldwide. Now, charities like the Red Cross, United Nations have funds set up globally in each country for various different natural events, natural perils that we can model. But of course, charities can't buy insurance, or they can't buy from the financial sectors. So what we've done, like us as a business, like many businesses here in the UK financial sectors, we have our own ESG fund, as many companies now do. We went to the markets. The Danish Red Cross wanted a way of providing quicker access to funding in the event of a natural disaster, and in this case, volcanoes. We modeled a parametric proposal, and they were looking for, they wanted $10 million. We got $3 million, that's all we could get. The price was around about $150,000. We, as a company, paid the premium for this. And of course, this then, I know how this basically operates in very simple terms. I'll go into details later on. Is as soon as a natural event occurs, as soon as that volcano hits the ash cloud hits 34,000 feet, which is the probability of a mass scenario where there's going to be repercussions for villages, towns, whatever it may be, then there's an automatic payout within 48 hours. There's no human interaction involved. It's all computerized and modeled. And that payment, we worked out, and the Red Cross worked out, that it's quicker to do it this way and get payments directly into territories than it is doing it themselves. Off the back of this, of course, it hit all the newspapers here in the UK and elsewhere. And this was about a year ago. We only got, just bearing in mind, I mentioned, we only got 3 million in the market a year ago. We're now up to 150 million. Just now, we've got obviously COP26 happening in the UK, in Glasgow next week. We're talking at that. David Howden, our CEO, is talking about that. We're hoping to get that fund up to about 1.5 billion in the next few years. So that is looking at everything. And really, this I talk about insurance as kind of complete risk transfer for you as businesses. What keeps you up at night? But this is actually the opposite. Just showing you, in fact, I've got a little slide to show you, if you can see that on what we've done to sort of effectively the probability of a loss on that 3 million is, as you can see here, is about 2.21%. We, of course, as part of our ESG fund, Howden paid the premium for it. But now, of course, investors are, we had HSBC, I shouldn't really name names, but we had a number of private equity hedge funds, banks, and the UK government DFID looking for access to this. And certain institutions want to come in, above 100 million. But you can see the return on this, these sort of situations, particularly when we model it like we're doing the parametrics, can be quite attractive, particularly when it's ticking the ESG box. But that's something I can talk about a lot more about what we're doing in that space right now, with locust plagues in Africa, with, you name it, hurricanes, tsunamis, all sorts. But it's effectively unlocking as much private capital as we can in the private sector, because there's about an 18.5 billion last year shortfall in humanitarian aid. So we're trying to plug that gap. So that's really where the insurance market is coming into play as a system, not a. What a lot of people look at the insurance market is you pay a huge amount of money for a policy, and it takes a heck of a long time to get the payment done. The good thing with this is you're using effectively an insurance wrapped hedge, but it's all automated and the payments are done as soon as the triggers are hit. So that's the social aspect of it. What we're also doing on the parametric side, which is a natural evolution to what we do for banks already, is look at how we can use the parametric modeling to offset capital off our clients' balance sheets. So we've got, clients, for example, in the Caribbean. If we have clients that have exposures to certain islands in the Eastern Caribbean, if they've got certain exposure to sovereign debt in the Eastern Caribbean, or even in their own island, or they've got specific clients in parts of an island where they think there is a high probability, or there is a high probability of flooding, of droughts, of a natural event that could affect or could provide a default on a particular customer or a whole portfolio. We can model now in the Caribbean every 30 square feet against any probability going back 70 years, right the way through global warming now, climate change, and what the probability is going forward. And we can effectively offset risk of banks' balance sheets now, and put it onto the balance sheet of AA rated paper, which allows capital relief. Now, this is something, of course, in Europe and the US, we've been able to do for a number of banks, gaining that capital relief. That really is the absolute key to it. It's not a product, I think, is necessarily highly valuable and viable unless there is that capital relief aspect of it. But it's something we're working on quite heavily in the Caribbean. We've done one initiative in Jamaica, which was looking at a pool of institutions that were lending to the agricultural sector, and we had various triggers there from, the blue. Those of you from Jamaica on the call will know the Blue Mountain coming off the mountain. So that's one area there. And of course, this naturally leads to a lot of what we're doing now with banks, which is really, again, looking at various different ways how you can use the insurance market to offset risk on your balance sheet in a much more cost-effective way to allow you as businesses to do more. So it's not a new concept. It's been around for a while now. It's just really the case of now us focusing it in the banking space. So two sides to it. One is what we're doing on the ESG sustainability side, which you as institutions may be interested in participating in or looking at. We really rely on you to come to us with scenarios where there is a shortage of charitable funding, and where the private sector may be able to fill that gap. And secondly is how we can act for you and help you and assist you in providing you with really a backstop. Parametrics is a backstop to the business against a known event, the probability of that known event occurring that could have a material impact in your business, and allows you the access and ability to have very quick and immediate access to capital to deploy to your clients or to top up any losses that you can then get your customers and your clients back up on their feet as soon as possible. So that's what Howden are pushing a lot and doing a lot of right now. That's what we're quite proud of. Just to a very brief conclusion on our existing lines. Obviously, we've over the last we've been in the Caribbean, as you know, or for those of you who know, should I say, since around 2012. We've hit just over 21 million US dollars of crime, cybercrime, and still only one directors and officers liability claim, but predominantly crime and cybercrime losses in the region. We, of course, have seen a huge transition from financial loss, North Korea predominantly, and other criminal groups looking for vulnerabilities in sectors, in regions, and specifically in banks, looking for quick, easy access to cash. That has now, of course, transitioned into the ransomware attacks, which we're all aware of as being a huge issue globally. And there's a number of institutions in the Caribbean which have been affected by that. So that's something that I know David Green and Hitachi have been working on with a lot of you. Please do listen to what David has to say. I'm not on a commission for David, by the way, but I would highly recommend, he's got a presentation later today, so I would highly recommend that you pay a lot of attention to that. And yes, and before I get into big trouble for talking for too long, I shall keep it quite short and sweet. So if you've got any questions, unfortunately, I would love to be in St. Lucia right now. It's pretty miserable here in London. So I hope to see you all in person at some point in early 2021. And look forward to any questions now or at any other points. So thank you for your time.
Wonderful. Blair, thank you so much. I think that the topic this morning was very much on point, especially as we look at the other agenda items that we have for the coming days. Certainly, I think persons will be very interested as well in unlocking capital, and particularly addressing or having the opportunity to address disaster relief. I know that those are not the only two offers that you have, and there's a lot more information available with Howden. So please, when you have a few minutes, take some time out to visit our sponsors. There's a lot of learning to be had. Blair, thank you again so much for joining this morning.
Thank you, Wendy, and well done.